The world is hungry for the Lord and the healing that only He can provide. God is building a place where He can meet with His people and speak to them. So welcome to the resting space. The resting space is a space to pause, reflect, find refuge, sit and recline in the hands of the Father. This is an altar, a sanctuary unto the Lord for Him to meet with His people. The resting space is a place of healing, restoration, and liberation. It is a space where you can be replenished and gain inner stability amidst the many challenges of life. In this resting space, we have pivotal conversations on our journey towards wholeness. I am your host, Keisha, author, speaker, prophetic writer, certified Christian counselor, and visionary of the personal development hub and movement called Warrior Lifestyle Solutions. With each episode, we will examine the things that cause us unrest. So let's dig in. We have a lot to discuss. The title of episode 2 is Don't Resist the Shift. It took me some time to get this episode out. I was wondering oh my God, why is this so challenging? But now I realize it was because there was some intense processing that needed to take place inside of me. Listen, before there's a shifting that can take place, there must be a stripping. Stripping is the act of being completely exposed or revealed, often symbolizing the removal or pretense of pride, worldly possessions, to be completely vulnerable before God. And as I was reading that description of stripping, it reminded me, it's a brief testimony, of a couple of months ago, the Lord led me to research my name. And previously, years ago when I was younger, I took the time to research my name and never had I come up with this definition. The Lord led me to look it up in Hebrew, and I found that my name meant restored to the heart of God. So it kind of makes sense to me that the Lord has been processing me in this way, has been stripping things off of me in this way, because even my name proves my destiny, that I'm called to be restored to the heart of God. I'm called to restore others to the heart of God. And in order for us to be restored to the heart of God, there has to be a stripping that takes place. And in order for us to find rest, we must be vulnerable before God, revealing our hearts unto Him. So in this processing that took place about a week and a half ago, I found old pains, old thoughts rising up to the surface. And at first I wasn't even sure what was going on. But I realized now that the Lord was processing me. He was pruning me. There was a deep shift taking place inside of me that I was previously resisting. With that said, I had a conversation with a friend of mine regarding these different levels of healing that the Lord has led me to and through. And as I was trying to convey the deep levels of healing that had taken place, like the current space that I'm in right now, it appeared to be very hard to explain. All I knew was that something about me was shifting deeply until it was revealed to me by way of the Holy Spirit that I had been in the wilderness for several for several years. And I'm also, just like the children of Israel, my wilderness season wasn't supposed to last so long, but because of my disobedience, because of my wrong thinking, because of my unwillingness to surrender, because of me depending on my own hand to make things happen, because of me resisting the shift, I stayed in the wilderness longer than necessary. Nevertheless, I am here now. So in this conversation, I found it hard to explain. And then later on, I realized that I had gone through the wilderness. I was trying to convey these deep levels of healing that had taken place, but it was just so hard because I didn't have any language for it. But now I do. Now I know that I am in transition. What is transition? Transition is the process period from changing from one state or condition to another. Transitions are a time for spiritual growth and healing. God may use your wilderness season, your transitions, to help you release false perceptions of yourself and of Him. In transition, God is working on your heart. This is why I couldn't explain, because over the last decade, over the last 10 years, God has taken me on a journey of healing, over a journey of recovery, of healing from my past traumas and hurts from childhood and so on and so forth. But this time I had no language for it. I was like, this is a different level, Lord. What is this? But now I realize I am transitioning from a place from healing to wholeness. And that requires a more intense, more deeper level of stripping. The things that has been hidden must be revealed. The things that you've covered up, the things that were withheld must come to the surface. You can no longer hide. You can no longer not face these things any longer, because your heart has been longing. Your prayers have been calling these things forth. So it's now time for that shift to take place. Have you been experiencing this intense transition just like me? Have you been unable to find language for what's been going on inside of you? The things that used to satisfy you is no longer fulfilling. You may be even looking at your job or a particular relationship, and you feel like this is not where you belong any longer. That's because transitions are time for spiritual growth and healing. Transitions are time for you to be catapulted and moved from one condition to the other. You can no longer remain the same. So in this transitionary process, in this intense processing that was revealed to me over the last week or so, actually the last couple of weeks, as you know, I talked about that in my first episode, titled The Old Identity Will Cost You. If you have not listened to that, I would recommend that you go back to episode 1 to follow along, but also to learn a little bit more about the resting space. But nevertheless, back to what I was saying. In this process, I realize now that my false identity was more pronounced during this time, causing a blur in my perception, and it is now time for it to be left behind. The Lord in all His sovereignty and grace is no longer allowing me to hold on to this old identity. He's no longer allowing me to hold on to the pains of my past. Everything that was hidden is being revealed. Conversations I hadn't had, or the time has come so now I have to have these discussions, and it is required for us to go forth. We can no longer contend with our old selves. We have to be set free. Transition is a preparation process. Transition is a time of rediscovery as you learn to rest confidently in your God-given identity as a son or daughter of God. What are the things that have attached itself to your identity that cause you uncertainty as a citizen of the kingdom? What has stunted your growth? What has made you believe that the Father does not love you? What stops you from standing in your authority? What has caused you to believe that you are less than? All of these things the Lord is addressing here and now at this altar, in this sanctuary, the sanctuary of your heart, the sanctuary of your heart. You've been hearing the Lord knocking at your door. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone would sup with me, I will sup with him. He said, behold, I've been knocking at your door. I know you've been hearing him knocking at your door, saying, son or daughter, it's time to let it go. Son or daughter, it's time to break free. Son or daughter, it is time to come forth. Son or daughter, it is time to stop living beneath your potential. Son or daughter, it is time to arise and stand into the truth of who you were created to be. But here's the thing, a lot of us don't know who we were created to be because we've been overshadowed by our pains and our hurts. Our false identity has been more pronounced than our kingdom identity. And God says no more. This is why you've been hearing this knock, this intense knock, almost like a banging on the door of your heart, beckoning you to come forward, to draw near unto him, to open your heart unto him, to release all those things that have burdened you, that caused you to be heavy laden, that have caused you to be worn and weary. It is time for you to open the door. You can't take your old identity into this new season. Yeah, I know. You feel like you've earned it. You feel like you deserve it. You feel like you worked so hard to go to this new season. But I'm here to tell you here and now, you cannot elevate. You cannot escalate to the next level in life, into the next season of your life until you drop the weights. This transition is necessary. This shift is coming whether you like it or not. So I'm here today to tell you, don't resist the shift. Don't resist the shift. You have a decision to make. Will you allow yourself to be set free? Will you release the things that you've been holding on to? Will you stop wearing your pain like a badge of honor? And as we know, we cannot put old wine in new wineskins unless it will burst. The old you and the new you cannot commingle. They cannot exist in the same space and place. Your old identity has served its purpose. It has got you to this point. And now it's time for you to arise. And now it's time for you to shift gears and come up higher. Come up to a place of rest. Come up to the place of where in which you belong. It's time for you to shift. It's time for you to shake off the old things, to shake off the old identity, the old beliefs, the old habits, the old mentalities. With that being said, in this transitionary time, this time of intense shifting, your mindset will be challenged. You will be challenged to elevate in your thinking, elevate in your understanding. You can no longer once again live beneath your potential. The greater is calling you, is beckoning unto you. It is waiting for you to come forth. Those voices, those people, those places and spaces is waiting for you to feel your position. The one that God has given you since the beginning of time. When he foreknew you, when he saw your unformed substance, he has been beckoning you forth. It is now the time to come forth. It is now the time to shift into position. It is time for you to shift from that place of healing unto wholeness. No more pacifiers, no more band-aids. It is time for you to stand in your wholeness. It is time for you to reclaim everything the enemy has stolen from you. It is time for you to walk. It is time for you to stand. It is time for you to pick up your bed and walk. I know this shift has been intense. Ask me how I know. But I'm talking to the sons and daughters of the kingdom who have been in an intense transition. That pain you've been holding on to is not worth the sacrifice of your destiny. That hurt you've been holding on to, that impoverished mentality, that low-level thinking is not worth the sacrifice of your destiny. In this shifting, in this transition, you will also begin to learn to just be authentically and truly who God created you to be. This is why the shifting has been taking place. And as I said in the beginning of this episode, before a shifting can take place, there has to be a stripping. This is why God has been stripping these things off of you. Your pseudo-identity, your false programming, your limited beliefs, your old perceptions, habits, behaviors, all the ways in which you've gotten yourself wrong, the ways in which you've believed yourself to be that was outside of God's original intent, outside of His creation of who He created you to be. So God has to remove the impurities of thought, the impurities of your heart, and the impurities of your mind. And in this shifting, in this transitionary place, God leads us into righteousness and warfare with sin by revealing our destructive nature. I know this might be a little intense for some of you guys today, but roll with me, hang with me. I know you understand because you are ready for the shift. So He reveals our destructive nature in this process, transforming you into who He created you to be. And many of our destructive behaviors are constantly warring with ourselves. That's one of your main. That was one of my main. Let me just speak here. Let me be authentic and true so I can give you the courage to be authentic and true with yourself. Many of your destructive behaviors are that you constantly war with yourself instead of allowing God to reveal what's inside of you to be healed so you can find rest. So you can find rest. Have you been warring with yourself? Have you been warring with the feelings within? Have you been warring with who you think you are? Have you been warring with these conditioned thoughts, these things that you've conditioned yourself to believe? Have you been warring with the false programming? Have you been warring with the environment that you know you are too big for? Have you been warring for thinking bigger, for expecting greater? Have you been warring? Has there been a war going on inside of you? Has there been a battle trying to keep you in a dry place? Has there been a battle inside of you that has been keeping you in a stagnant place? Has there been a battle inside of you that has been causing you to stay in a low level of thinking, an impoverished mentality? Has there been a battle inside of you that caused you to stay in relationship and spaces and places that you know you've outgrown? Is there a war going on inside of you? If so, it is time to enlist the help of Jehovah Gabor, mighty warrior, strong in battle, who the only one that is able to keep you from falling, the only one who is able to help you bring those Goliaths down. So, back a little bit, as I was saying, in this shifting, in this transitionary process, God will be revealing to you who you are more authentically and truly, so you can learn to just be who He created you to be. I say many times in my teachings that I don't really subscribe to the saying that I'm becoming. I believe that we are called to be. Why do I believe that? It's because God foreknew us. He formed us in our mother's womb. He foreknew you. And He looked at our unformed substance and wrote out a purpose and plan for our life. Now it is our responsibility to walk into this position, walk into this role that's already in place. So there is no need to become what you already are. It's just a matter of stripping off the old you, shifting your perception to learn and to know and to embrace and to stand in the truth of who you are. So maybe you will reconsider that conversation when you want to say I'm becoming. Maybe you want to say that I'm learning to be who God created me to be. So during this transition, once again, God strips away many things like pride. Y'all, that pride, and let me tell you, it's not what you think it is. It's not just about being prideful and conceited and so on and so forth. Pride is also about thinking your way is better, depending on your own hand, not accepting help, trying to do everything in your own strength, trying to do things your way. But as it says, not by might, not by power, but by your spirit, thus says the living God. Have you been operating in your own strength, trying to do things your own way? Have you grown tired? Have you grown weary and heavy laden of trying to assist yourself and promote yourself to the next level in life when God is calling you and beckoning you to come up higher, to learn from Him, take upon His yoke so you can progress in life? So God wants to remove that pride. He takes away, in this transitionary process, He strips away our pride, our low standards, just like I said, our past hurts and pains, areas that you need to forgive yourself and others, the image that you held on to that wasn't even correct. So now let's just talk about for a second the just be aspect of this conversation. I didn't want to go over that too quickly. I want to meditate. I want to, as my mom would say, saute and simmer in that area just for a moment. Learning to be means to be guided by truth and to walk in freedom. It's evidence of true, sustainable change within. In this transitionary process, in this shifting, over the last couple of months, even more so intensely over the last couple of weeks, I had to get naked and allow God to strip away the misconception. Now, I know that choosing to be sounds like a passive posture, but what I'm learning is that it's truly a place of power. Choosing to be requires acceptance Acceptance means to give an affirmative answer, regard favorably, consent to receive. And consent means permission. So I want to pause and ask you a question. Have you given yourself permission to just be? Have you given yourself permission to just be who God created you to be, without pretense, without false perceptions? Have you given yourself the authorization, the permission, the acceptance to just be who God created you to be? I want you to know that God has authorized you to be exactly who He created you to be. And it's time for us to stop living beneath our potential. This is why this shift is taking place. As I give myself permission to just be, I have begun to feel a lifting and a shifting of some sort, taking me to the place where I always belong. The weights that I've been carrying, the burden, the heaviness I feel is starting to lift. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. It may sound like this process has been easy for a moment, but it has not. It took me into some sleepless nights. It took me into some hard conversations with friends. It took me into a place of travail and prayer, and sometimes not even wanting to pray, not knowing what to say. It took me into moments where I wanted to give up the ministry, give up the brand. That's because the Lord was stripping my false pretenses. He was stripping away my misconceptions to get me to the place He has desired, to the place you and I have always belonged. See, the thing is, I had grown accustomed to being hidden. And let's be honest, I adapted to not having my needs met as a young child. You're probably wondering, how does that relate to choosing to just be? Here's the thing. When your emotional and psychological needs are not met as a child, you learn to sacrifice yourself as a protective measure, which leads you to being out of touch with who you are, the truth of who you are. In this sacrificial state of mind, this place of giving up something, you don't realize that what you've given up is you. You've lost yourself in the process, that you have lost the essence of who you are, and that in this process you have given up on you, on your hopes, on your dreams, on your desires, on your destiny. You have relinquished your true identity. Just like I said in episode 1, when you are in survival mode, okay, aka the wilderness, you have no time for remission or to give yourself permission to just be, to be free, to live, to thrive, to love, enjoy life, and experience God in the way He created and designed for you to experience it. Also, let's be honest, in learning to be, I had to learn to be okay with being vulnerable. It takes a lot of vulnerability, y'all, to come on this platform and allow the Holy Spirit to open my mail in front of each and every one of you to help you cross over to the other side, to be the intersection between the spirit and the natural, to help you journey on your way to wholeness. to give you the courage to stand fear in the face and say no more. But vulnerability is a requirement. So throughout this process, I realized I was resisting the shift. But now I surrender. I surrender. And today, and I invite you to join me, I lay it down on the altar. I lay my resistance. I lay my pride. I lay down the misconceptions and my limited perceptions. I lay down living beneath my potential on the brazen altar, on the altar. Will you lay your burdens down with me today? To never pick it up again. Remember, this is the resting space where we lay our burdens down, where we put our nail in the coffin of our past hurts and wounds to never be recovered again. So, what patterns of thought have you taken on that contribute to keeping yourself in a box and not allowing yourself to just be? Have you been resisting the shift? So today, won't you join me once again in choosing to lay your self-imposed limitations to rest? I know I am. It is time for me. It is time for you to shift into our authentic place. It is time for us to shift and stand in the truth of who we were created to be. It is time for us to shift. It is time for you to shift out of that broken place, that wounded space, that limited place, that low level place, into the place you've always belonged. So I'm challenging you today to stop resisting the shift so you can cross over, so you can walk into the place in which you've always belonged. It is time for you to learn to just be who God created you to be. So, I hope you enjoyed this conversation today, this candid, this pivotal conversation, this vulnerable conversation that we had today in the resting space. Episode 2. I invite each and every one of you, wherever you find this podcast, to like, subscribe, and share with your friends and family, with your co-workers. There's many people surrounding you. There's many people who need to hear what the Lord has given me. There's many people who need healing. There's many people that need to have an interaction with the Lord, that need to have an experience with Him. And I'm delighted to be this intersection, to give you the courage to live whole, to live bold, and to live free. So stay in tune, stay enlightened, stay aware, and be encouraged today, knowing that God is shifting you into a greater place, into that place where you've always belonged. God bless you and see you soon. Episodes will be coming out every 21 days. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.